Alrighty, number 6 right here. Which of the following is an irrational number? Irrational means it cannot be written as an integer over an integer. And an integer, of course, is all whole numbers and their opposite. So a whole number would be 6, or an opposite would be -6, right? So an integer over an integer. And the two things to really watch out for that we've talked about this year are pi, which is not an integer because that's a number that it's a decimal number that doesn't have any repeating sign. Whoops, I missed a 4 here. A lot of people think 3.14 is pi. It's actually a number that goes on and on from there. So mathematicians will put 3 dots there to indicate it keeps going. So that'll be irrational. Another one that's a popular irrational number, these aren't the only ones, but these are ones that we focus on this year, would be square roots. And a number like the square root of 4 is actually rational because it's a perfect square, whereas a number like the square root of 5 would be irrational because you can't multiply two numbers together to get 5. Two numbers that are the same anyway. And so if you look at the square root of 3 here, that's actually an irrational number. Now, people always like to say that 1.5 times 1.5 is 3. That's actually not the case. If you do this out on a calculator, this would equal 2 and 25 hundredths, 2.25. So you're confusing 1.5 plus 1.5 or 1 and 5 tenths plus 1 and 5 tenths. So you can't multiply these together and get 3. So there's nothing that multiplies to get 3, so this would be an irrational number. So we could circle that. Anything that repeats is actually rational, and I like to show that 1/3, if you do this out, 1 divided by 3, 3 goes into 10 3 times, and then you subtract, and you'd get 1, and you bring down a 0. And so this will be a repeating number. You can see it's 3 again and again and again, but it was originated from the fraction 1/3. So yeah, anything that repeats will be rational. Like I just said, this is not pi. It looks like it. It's its ugly twin. And by twin, I don't mean like identical twin. They have a lot of similar traits, right? But this is a rational number. It ends right here. So this would be rational. This one is actually rational as well. The square root of 1 is 1, so it's an integer over an integer, 2 over 1. -8 is rational. It's all whole numbers and their opposites, right? So you could express this as -8 over 1, and then it would be an integer over an integer. And again, this repeats, so it's rational. Only one irrational in number 6. Let's go! Number 7, 4 plus 2 root 9. This is just an order of operations problem. So parentheses always come first. There aren't any here. Exponents come second. Now, believe it or not, there are exponents here. This little guy right here, isn't he adorable? That's an exponent. It's a root. So exponents and roots. Roots are the inverse of exponents. So I would do that first. Square root of 9 is 3. And then it's either division or multiplication that comes next. And in this case, we do have, if a number is right next to a radical like this, the radical is this little symbol, that means you multiply. So we're going to do 2 times 3 here. And you're adding 4 to that. So from here, you'll do multiplication next. 2 times 3 is 6. And then finally, addition and subtraction always come last. And the order could sometimes be subtraction first. But in this case, there is no subtraction. So 4 plus 6 is 10. This one says to estimate. And I think that's the key word is estimate by rounding the irrational number to the nearest whole number. So this number right here is irrational. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to call this square root of 16 right away now. I'm going to show you another way in a sec. But 5 minus 3 root 16, it'll be the same thing as before. So you do the square roots first, and then multiply would come second. So it would be 3 times 4 is 12, and then 5 minus 12 will get you -7. One suggestion, if you're thinking is, well, if we're estimating, shouldn't we make this number, a fraction first? And you could do that. So square root of 9 would be 3. Square root of 16 would be 4. And so square root of 15, very, very close to 4. It'll be between 3 and 4, a little less than 4. It'll be 3 and 6 over 7. right? 6 because it's 6 away from 9, and 7 because 9 and 16 are 7 total units apart. So you could call this, I guess, 27 sevenths. So the problem would be 5 minus 3, and I'm just generating that from the original problem, times 3 times 7 is 21, plus 6 is 27. So 27 sevenths. And if you multiply that out, 3 over 1 times 27 over 7. Well, 3 times 27, I'm going to, let's see, 3 times 30 is 90. So this will be 81. It'll be 81 over 7. And then if I made 5 into an improper fraction, 5 is 5 over 1, of course, but 5 over 1, we could also say that 5 is the same thing as 35 divided by 7, because, 7 times 5 is 35. And so then you just do 35 minus 81. That's going to get you a negative number. I don't know what that is. Let's see, 81 minus 35. 81 minus 1 is 80. Minus another 30 is 50. Minus another 4 is 46. I think that makes sense. So this would be negative 46 over 7. That's another way of putting it. Remember, they said to estimate. So I think that this would be a good answer too. Of course, if you did negative 49 over 7, which is almost what this is, negative 49 over 7 would be the same as negative 7. Last ones, I promise. Number 9, 10, 11, and 12 are a big old family. They got broken up along the way, but they have a lot of similar traits. They all have 7s and 3s. There's just a few negative signs mixed in. I'm going to start with 11 because that seems to be the most friendly of all the bears here. 7 times 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49 times 7. Well, 50 times 7 is 350. So 350 is too big. Let's see. 9 times 7 is 63. Carry the 6 here. 28 plus 6 is 343. We said 350 was too big, so that makes sense. So this will be 343. The rule is with any negative exponent, all it does is make the number a fraction. So this would be 1 over 343. It's just basically what it would be in expanded form is 1 over 7 times 1 over 7 times 1 over 7. This one, they want it to be a fraction again, but they also want the number to be negative because they're saying it's negative 1/7 times negative 1/7. Let me write it out. Negative 1/7 times negative 1/7 times negative 1/7. And if you do this out, the negative times a negative is a positive, times another negative is a negative. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and 7 times 7 times 7 is 343. And then number 12, well, it's a positive exponent, so it's not a fraction. It's just going to be negative 343 because the base will stay negative.